I will start by, before saying my name again, I would like to welcome you all, the external parties that are participating in this training today, representatives from the ministries as well as the civil society organizations. I would like to thank the participants, the online participants, as well as all project partners that are here today, and of course our great hosts for organizing such an amazing event with such audiovisual support. Now, my name is Babis Kajimalis. I'm working in VIL Labs. I'm here today with my colleague Danai Kirkou. VIL Labs is a private research entity based in Thessaloniki, Greece, as well as in Cyprus. What we're doing, we have more than 15 people working on different and various fields, from political scientists to engineers, journalists, lawyers, and pretty much we're covering all aspects. And what we are doing is supporting proposal writing by starting from the very beginning until the very end, as well as leading work packages and tasks that are relevant to our fields of expertise, which is impact communication, dissemination, project management, as well as software development. That was pretty much all about VIL Labs. Let's go to the actual presentation now. I tried to find a way to start my presentation. The typical way is by quoting a white male, Churchill, Lincoln, someone from the United States, not a woman of color for sure. So I will do it the opposite way. I will start by quoting ChatGPT, thus by saying that we are all biased. And this is a universally accepted psychological principle, and which is actually, we are doing this consciously as well as unconsciously. Now, the important point here, before proceeding to this, is to take into account the fact that this has an impact that varies. It varies depending on a series of factors that are the power dynamics, the societal structures, as well as the individual actions that we are actually performing. Today, I will proceed with this presentation. This is the outline with some definitions and examples of biases faced by underrepresented groups. Of course, what it is an underrepresented group, brief comment, some comments on the EU regulations, the causes and forms of discrimination, the ways to address bias, and the ways to ensure an ethical and inclusive AI technologies. Am I changing the slides? I'm not really sure I am. I would need some help. If possible, thank you. Great. Yay, super. So definition of bias and its relevance to the human rights. This one. Bias can be defined as a predisposition or inclination towards or against a particular person, group, or an idea. It involves the presence of preconceived notions, stereotypes, or prejudices that influence our thoughts, actions, and decision-making processes. After 3 hours, I'm quite certain that at the end of the day, you will be aware of what bias is. The relevance of bias to human rights is obviously profound. Human rights are inherent to all individuals, regardless of their background, identity, and characteristics. However, bias can undermine these rights, impeding equal access to opportunities, resources, services, and of course, fair treatment. It can also perpetuate inequality, discrimination, marginalization, and particularly for the underrepresented groups. What do we mean by underrepresented groups? Subsets of the population given to a specific context that are not equally represented in relation to the overall number in that particular population or in the population in general. We can see that in education, healthcare, politics, media. Two examples, the Western technologies and industries. There we can see that we do not really have women, we do not have people of color, and we do not really have a representation of all the different socioeconomic backgrounds. In politics, a great example as well as political scientists, women, ethnic and racial minorities, as well as the LGBTQI plus individuals and the relevant community. Am I clicking? Nope. Am I doing this? Yay. So we have some examples of biases faced by the underrepresented groups. We have the racial and ethnic bias, we have the gender bias, and we have the sexual orientation bias. Of course, you can see here the descriptions, but as I understand, and as I understood and understand that I'm the very last frontier between our meeting here and the coffee break, I believe that I will have to be a bit quicker and faster in order to support your mental health. I seriously, not good. that's why. And the disability bias, the age bias, and the religious bias, what we're calling ageism, what we're calling ableism, and the different descriptions here, which you probably know, and I will have to spare in order to proceed with our activities. In terms of the EU regulations on human rights protection, the EU, here you can see some, and here you can see some additional ones. So the EU has a comprehensive human rights framework in place. We have different laws, regulations, initiatives, directives, starting from some time ago, going until today, and as well as incorporated in the ones that have been presented by our great technical coordinator, George Monias. However, whether these regulations are enough is subjective and depends actually on one's perspectives. So we could say that we actually have 4 factors that are playing a major and important role here. The first one would be the implementation and enforcement. The second one would be the scope of protection, the response to emerging issues, and of course, the political will. There is always a gap between the actual laws, rights, regulations, and the actual implementation of those, which we do understand. There is always the scope of protection, and we have a lot of critics saying that additional underrepresented groups should be, and biased individuals and communities should be represented and covered. We also have the responses to emerging crises and to emerging issues. For example, the GDPR was a response to the actual, to the very emerging digital technological solutions and the need to protect rights, privacy, and other individual positions and rights. And of course, the political will, because it is not always up to the European Union or the European Commission. There are also national players in place. Now, the causes and the form of discrimination. Bias stems from various causes and sources, including stereotypes, oversimplified beliefs about certain groups based on characteristics like race, gender, age, and nationality, the prejudice, preconceived opinions or attitudes that held towards individuals or groups, often based on perceived characteristics, the very discrimination, unequal treatment, or denial of opportunities based on actual or perceived characteristics, including direct, indirect, and systemic discrimination. That would be the end. Now, we can see that the common environments where individuals may experience some bias, some discrimination. Of course, in the employment sector, with discrimination, the hiring processes, unequal treatments in terms of salary, benefits for women, for individuals of different age. We also have this, you're already aware of this, the glass ceiling that the people of different gender are facing, and limited access to training and professional development. In terms of education, again, unequal access to quality education, limited support and resources for students from marginalized communities. Marginalized is a difficult term. It is being used, is being used by the European Commission, but I would suggest using the underrepresented communities instead of marginalized. And of course, the overall situation like bullying, harassment, and exclusion based on factors, again, like race, ethnicity, or disability, that it is quite evident and happens under the education realm. The healthcare services, of course, unequal access to healthcare facilities, services based upon socioeconomic status or geographical location, quite evident in numerous states. Discrimination in the provision of medical treatment, diagnosis, or access to specialized care. We can see that in the different socioeconomic groups and subsets. Lack of cultural competence and understanding of specific healthcare needs of the underrepresented groups, and also in housing, discrimination in rental or housing purchase, unequal access to affordable and safe housing options, segregation and limited housing choices in certain neighborhoods. That used to be a huge issue in the past in many countries, but still remains one. Public services and institutions, pretty much closer to the AI for Gov, discrimination and bias encountered in governmental agencies, law enforcement and public institutions, unequal treatment in accessing public benefits, legal aid or social support services, language barriers, and lack of culturally sensitive services, social interactions and community, prejudice, limited opportunities for participation, leaderships and such, stigmatization and marginalization of certain groups affecting social cohesion and well-being. Now, addressing biases and promoting human rights. A lot of text, I know, but I'm not really going to say everything. So the ways to promote human rights and the ways to react to address biases could be the following. Recognizing and challenging personal bias and encouraging individuals to reflect on their own biases and stereotypes, just as I did in the very beginning of this presentation. The education and awareness, like we are doing in this very training session, inclusive policies and practices, the very result of the AI for Gov project, and representation and empowerment, increasing representation of the underrepresented groups in decision-making roles, empowering marginalized communities through leadership programs, amplifying the voices and perspectives of the underrepresented groups in media, arts, and culture. What we are going to do under the work package that we are leading, proceed with interviews by receiving the opinion, the positioning of the different underrepresented groups and feed this information into the overall AI for Gov project activities. Collaboration and partnerships, pointed out before, of course, we're going to do that on a local, national, and European level. Advocacy and policy change by advocating policies and legislation that can protect the rights of the underrepresented groups, the very end of the project, and community engagement and support by engaging with underrepresented communities to understand their needs and concerns, provide support services, and create opportunities for dialogue. Now, the ways to ensure ethical and inclusive AI technologies and the impact of AI on human rights. In order to understand this, we have proceeded with 2 workshops. I have also presented this before, but I believe that for the sake of this training, we should also do that again. So we have organized 2 workshops. Both had to do with AI and human rights. But on the first one, we had this workshop with representatives from the digital community, from the AI sector. But with the second one, the second workshop, we had the very same interview, the very same focus group with representatives of CSOs, of civil society organizations, and of the underrepresented groups. Here we can see the logos of such. So we had like experts from migrants, from groups and organizations that are representing migrants, people with disabilities, all kinds of different workers, even sex workers, civil society organization, children, people with disabilities, asylum seekers, migrants, and many, many more. What we have found out. Well, AI systems, pointed out before, pointed out right now again, can discriminate against specific categories of people, which can result in violations of fundamental human rights and erode trust in AI technologies, of course, because those are tools, those are technologies that are based on the very developers, the ones that are handling the information, the ones that are handling the systems, humans. According now to the workshops conducted, and this will be my almost I'm getting there, I'm getting to the end. According to these workshops that we have conducted, the following key challenges have been highlighted. Potential underrepresentation of certain target groups, particularly minorities, in the data collection process. This lack of diversity can result in biased outcomes and inaccurate decision-making, negatively affecting individuals who fall outside the dataset. This was quite clear from the very, very beginning of this training, and this is something that we are taking into account. The quality of data used is paramount, and unreliable or inaccurate data can have severe consequences, hindering the effectiveness of AI applications. Protecting the privacy and fundamental rights of underrepresented groups is essential in order to be able to ensure AI technologies align with principles such as non-discrimination, equal treatment, and the right to privacy, access, and such. Ending, we have uncovered the following practices in order to be able, suggested practices in order to be able to address biases in AI development. We need to have input from the general public. We need to have data quality assurance. We need to identify and mitigate bias at every single stage of AI development. We need to generate diverse AI development teams and transparency and accountability. And this would be my final slide. Thank you.